gable end in one shot and lift it up. We framed the entire gable end from the bottom plate all the way up to the top of the roof pitch. We're going to put the sheathing on, we're going to put the trim on, we're going to put the window in, and then the siding, so it'll be 98% complete, then lift it up into place. Once it's in place, we really don't have to touch it after that. Since we have the outline of the roof already on the floor here, we're going to use it to find out the length of the gable end studs. And so we already snapped this early. We snapped the roof outline so we could establish the trusses and build those. Now we're going to use the same outline to find out the length and the location of our gable end wall studs. Now we know what we're going to have for the length of the studs and adding for the gable end, which you will see in a minute. To lay out the balloon frame gable end wall, I first marked the stud locations on the top plate that we drew on the deck when we built our trusses. I then draw a parallel line above the height of the roof peak and mark the same stud locations on it. And then 63 1/4.
Yep.
See, I'm going from this mark to this mark, but I only have to go in between up to the top of the roof. I connect the marks with a straight edge to represent the edge of the stud. I can then measure the distance between the plate and the long or short point of the stud as it intersects with the top plate. That's the bottom of the top plate, and I measure straight down to that red line, which is the top of the stud. I add this distance to the standard height of my wall studs. This gives me the exact height of each stud in the gable end wall. That's what's nice about having the layout right on the floor. Really very little measuring. While I'm at it, I lay the top plates down on the deck and mark the stud locations. This way, when I build the walls, I'll know where to locate the studs. For this wall, we opted for a window centered under the gable. I adjusted my stud locations to land on either side of the window. Before I move on, I mark the stud locations on the bottom plate as well. Okay, let's just put all of these in place. The floor deck is a handy surface to build on, so we take full advantage of that. Each stud is secured to the bottom and top plates with 2 nails at each location. 75 inches. The rough opening header and sill consist of single 2x4s secured to the adjacent studs at the proper height. Cut it out! I use the floor to square the wall. All right, you all set?
I'm in the right place.
All right. First, I tack the bottom plate in place. 1/34 1/8. Then, cross measure and make adjustments until I am sure that the wall is square. Yeah, I can see it has to come to me too.
Yeah.
Yep. According to my eye. A little more. Go back.
A little more.
All right, right there.
Then tack the top in place with a couple of 6-penny nails.
Right down near the bottom. Good. All right.
When installing the wall sheathing, I let it overhang the bottom of the wall framing by 7 3/4 inches. This allows the sheathing to extend below the floor framing.
Well,
That's what I'm looking at when I say perfect. The bottom is.
I secure the sheathing with 8D nails. I mark out the window opening and use a circular saw to cut away the sheathing.
Writing is up.
no more trick questions, please.
Once secured, I cut the sheathing flush with the top plates.
Look at that. Almost like we knew what we were doing.
I apply self-adhesive flashing tape over all of the seams between the wall sheathing panels.
I'm going to take this a step further, and we're going to install the trim, the windows, and the finished siding on here. Then once that's done, we're going to lift it up into place and continue with the other walls.
And nail down 2 2x4s on the flat as blocking for the eave trim.
So I'm putting an extra layer of tape where I know the corner board will end and the siding begins, because I know the siding, all the nails on the last row of siding will go right along this tape, and the nails for the corner board will be right here too. So just putting this extra piece of tape helps ensure that the nails are all sealed up.
After marking the location of the corner boards, apply stops to set the siding against. These stops will be removed later when we install the corner boards. For the gable end trim, we use a PVC product that is impervious to rot and can be left unpainted.
Ow.
The soffit goes flush to the 2x blocking. We hold the rake trim above the blocking 5/8 of an inch so the top edge will be flush with the roof sheathing. Once the window opening is flashed and the window is installed, we can begin installing the sidewall shingles.
I only have the 4-inch with me. Normally I'd use 6-inch. Such as happens on the job site as well, you use what you have. You hold on to that. So the purpose of this flashing is that if water gets in through the window somehow into the rough opening, it runs down, hits this flashing, and comes out.
Before installing the window, apply a bead of caulk along the sides and across the top of the rough opening. This will seal the back of the window flange.
Yep. 42. Perfect, right there. If we went ahead and shingled this whole thing all the way down, sided it, lifted it up, then we'd have no way of nailing this section of sheathing into the rim of the floor system here. And this is just to keep the flashing from getting crunched and mutilated.
Below the siding, we install drip cap flashing over the water table. Like most flashing details, I like to tape the top edge with self-adhesive flashing.
Oops. Trying to hold this down
Yeah,
against
hold
there.
that. What I'm doing here is laying out the courses of shingles so that we can try to get them to come even with the bottom of the window and the top of the window. Just something that distinguishes a good job from a bad job.
With the story pole laid out, we transfer our marks to the wall for reference as we install our shingles. Notice we used a piece of 3/8 inch thick siding to space the shingles up off the cat flashing. This helps prevent the siding from wicking up any water that pools on the flashing.
Now these are just B-grade white cedar shingles. They have knots in them, but the knots are usually up above the exposure line. So they're cheaper than the ones that don't have knots. Right there, right?
While you can hand nail shingles, it's well worth the expense to rent a compressor and pneumatic stapler. I recommend an 1.5 inch staple with a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch crown.
You have to stagger so that you're covering the seams, and you're supposed to stagger over 3 courses worth. And these shrink anyway. A lot of people try to get them really tight. They shrink, that's the look. They shrink and they turn gray. It's the other reason why you want to make sure to stagger the joist, because they do open up. Sometimes up to a 1/4 I've seen.
Yeah.
And if you have a 1/4 inch
Oh, yeah.
gap over a 1/4 inch gap over a 1/4 inch gap, Water's going to go right through.
At the bottom corner of the window, notch the shingles to protect this vulnerable spot from leaking.
Because over the next 2 courses, you'll end up with 3 seams right in a row, all the way through, which would be a good place for a leak.
At the rake, the shingles need to be cut to match the roof pitch. An easy way to do this is to fabricate a simple circular saw sled that matches the roof pitch. The shingles butt into 1x blocking that will eventually be covered with a piece of PVC trim.
Oh.
Yeah. Up. Right up. If it slips, I'm running.
No, it should be all right. It's tacked up from the bottom, so.
All right, you got it?
I have it. You're just going to nail it, or you want to eyeball it close for a
We'll
level?
eyeball it once I get the nail in here.
Back to me a little. Back to me. Back to me. Right there is good. Very good. Yep. So that's close. We're not quite on our line at the bottom, and it gives us enough room to adjust.
That's what we want.
You need to go in the middle of the window.
Yeah, not too much. Just let me pull the nail.